the key factor there. Moving up to the northwest edge of the fire here. Once again, there's quite a bit of activity here as the fire progresses downslope into these draws and valleys, and a lot of rugged terrain in here and ridge tops with high density fuels. These fields are so dry, they're breaking records, and we're seeing that with the extreme fire behavior that we've seen over the last few days. The plan here to the north is we have firefighters out scouting control lines, initiating some good road features in here, improving those with heavy equipment and crews, prepping those for the potential of future burnout operations to the north and to the west. All the way up here, so the main point up here along the 256 road and the 139, a lot of folks out here in this country today in the last couple of days really identifying those values at risk. And when I say values at risk, we're looking at critical infrastructure, these radio towers that have been identified as obviously a high value. They are very defendable, so that's a good thing. But we'll do whatever we can to identify those and protect those if the fire were to spread to the northwest, which has a good probability that it will at some point over the next 2 to 3 days. Coming back down here to the main edge of the fire on the north end and moving east, this fire edge is still somewhat active, but not a lot of movement on the fire. We've had northwest winds that have been pushing the fire back into itself, and there hasn't been a lot of spread to the north. Continuing to the east here along the where we tie into the Roan Creek Road, the 204 road, we've had a lot of success here. We were fortunate to have a lot of success here with some burnout operations 2 nights ago, and that is holding and looking well. So a lot of folks in here, a lot of engines, a lot of crews in here, patrolling, monitoring, and securing that fire perimeter. So with that remains in check on that 204 road. As we move east on the fire, we've mentioned this over the last couple of days. This remains cool, looking really good around these structures. A lot of good work went into place a week ago in here all the way down to where the 204 road starts to go south. So all this is looking really good. These were a lot of high values, primary residences that crews did a lot of good work in here, protecting those with burnout operations and now everything secure and monitor status all the way back to the east. Moving over to the east side of the fire and working all the way down to the south. Not a lot of change over here, as we've mentioned and briefed to over the last several days. Everything's looking really good. This fire edge is checked up on some book cliffs. Once again, natural barriers that helped us out here. And that continued here all the way down back to the road system, back to the south end of the fire. So these unchecked fire line here, the natural barriers is really what helped us there. Catch up fire, which provided a lot of opportunity to shift priority resources to a priority edge of the fires. And those resources have been distributed to the priority edges of these fires, and that'll continue over the next couple of days as this edge cools down. One thing to mention, we do have a full night operation. So we are staffing this fire 24 hours a day. We have a full day shift. They're working long hours, and then we transition to a night operation. And those resources get briefed. They get informed by day operations, what happened for the today, and they plan for the evening. So we're staffing this fire 24 hours a day. One thing to mention, we do have aircraft. We do have the large helicopters. However, the last couple of days, or at least today, I'll mention, we've used those helicopters where we can be successful. So we're not wasting time with the helicopters. If we can be successful and secure an edge with firefighters on the ground, helicopters are very, very useful. But until we do that, we want to save that flight time and that critical operation when we really need those helicopters, and then we'll enforce that when we need to. And that concludes. I would like to mention, one other thing. We do have a structure group, what we call, and what that does, that group is able to freely go around and identify all the values and really focus on those values, identifying those values, protecting those values, and coming up with a plan and additional resources as needed to protect those values. Like we mentioned, the critical infrastructure, oil and gas, the well sites, all that stuff that's out ahead of the fire. And that concludes your operational updates. So we will go to our incident meteorologist, Mark.
Thank you, Pat. I'm Mark Leffelbein. I'm the incident meteorologist for the fire. And one of my primary focus here is going to be for firefighter safety, but the other part of my operation is also planning. The last few days, because of the thunderstorms, I've been really on top of that firefighter safety, keeping the firefighters aware of what is coming as far as thunderstorms are coming, and also keeping them aware of that before it reaches the fire. Those of you that are in the Grand Junction area have certainly seen what those outflow winds can do to the area, and that's what we've been seeing this afternoon. Those were seen on the fire. We saw 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts from those as they moved by. So most of the day's been spent, my day's been spent keeping them updated. My role is going to transition, though, a little more into planning here shortly, as we are going to start to see things calm down thunderstorm-wise, but still temperatures are going to be remaining pretty hot. High pressure is going to be in the area. High temperatures in the 90s through the weekend. Relative humidities will be back in the single digits again. Winds will calm down a little bit. They'll still remain out of the northwest that they have been, but they won't be gusting over the 20 mile per hour mark. They'll stay a little lighter than that. So that is going to be a change for us. Now, I will take you a little bit back here into some of these graphics and show you what's been going on. If you've been watching these the past few days, you'll have noticed pretty much the same thing I'm going to show you now. This is the drought monitor. Most of the western half of the country is showing those red and yellows and those oranges. That's showing you it's dry. We'll zoom in a little bit on the next slide, and we're going to show you what Colorado specifically looks like. And most of our fire is colored in that red. It's showing you that we are in some extreme drought conditions. And that's going to be certainly fueling our potential here to make those fuels readily available to burn. Our next graphic is just looking at temperatures, and it looks like we're staying mostly in that normal range there. But when you look closely at the far right where we're at now, a lot of that blue line, which is the actual temperature, is spiking up into the red area instead of staying into that orange area. What that's showing is above average temperatures, and you're not seeing many of those lines in that blue area showing below average. So we're riding that above average temperature, and we've been doing that for quite a while. The past few days have been 5 to 10 degrees above average in most areas. So it's certainly been warm, and I guess you don't really need to tell me to tell you that. We've also been dry, running about half of normal amount of precipitation. This next graphic is showing that. The green line is where we're currently at, but that red line just below it is the all-time lowest back in 1972. And where we want to be at is that normal line, that brown line. And we just haven't gotten that much precipitation. As a matter of fact, you got to go back into the middle of the March, April timeframe there before you see that big jump of precipitation. So we have certainly been dry for quite a while. And it just doesn't look like it's going to get much better in the near term. This is going to be the 8 to 14 day forecast. This takes us out. The next slide will take us to the temperature forecast through September 2nd. And we're sitting in that above area, meaning our potential is we're going to be above average. And everything I'm looking at tells us that. Same for the next graphic. We're going to be below average as far as precipitation. I will give you a little bit of help, or hope, I guess you should say. Through next September 2nd is when those graphics go through. But right there at the end, as we go into late next weekend, there is some potential. We will start to see a little bit of rain in the area. So there is some hope still far out there, but at least we aren't looking at it and saying it's a solid chance it's going to be dry. That's all I have for you. But up next, we have Dan Dallas, our incident commander.
Hi, good evening, folks. In the last public meeting, for those that you attended, I gave you a little information about how we're organized and what we're about. Tonight, I thought the most effective thing I could do was kind of pinch hit, if you will, with or for the Garfield County Sheriff. He's one of the folks we work with, and I'll quickly go through the evacuations and the road closures for him. And then I know you want to get on to the sheriffs that will, and your elected officials that will speak next. So I'll try and be quick about it. But and maps of this are available in various places. So as far as evacuations, from the Mesa County line north to the east-west Colorado Highway 256, which is locally called the 4A Ridge Road, including north-south Colorado, County Highway 256, to the 256 and 205 have moved from pre-evacuation status to full evacuation. From Highway 139, the Douglas Pass Road east to the pre-existing evacuation order for the Car Creek Road, that's in, which is Road 207, that is in evacuation status now. The one I just described, this includes County Highway 205, the Salt Wash, and the Kimball Creek Road, which is Road 202 on Kimball Mountain, that's evacuated. And County Highway 258, the King Road, is evacuated. So still under evacuation is the Roan Creek Road, which is County Road 204, above the Brush Creek Road, which is County Road 209. And now for pre-evacuations, everything west of Douglas Pass, County Highway 139 to the Utah state line will now be in pre-evacuation status. People were allowed to return home yesterday on the Roan Creek Road, but they remain in pre-evacuation status. And then Colorado 139 north of Loma, Douglas Pass is closed due to the Pine Gulch Fire from mile point 6 to mile point 39. Also, the BLM has issued an area closure order where I just described there, basically out to the, from the Roan Creek Road, more or less to Highway 139. And then both Mesa County and Garfield County have entered stage 2 fire restrictions. So that's a summary. Hope that's helpful for people. Again, this is all available on maps if you're looking on websites, and they're in various places. So please look those up if you have any questions. And now I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Commander Dallas. And with that, we're going to go ahead and introduce Matt Lewis, our Mesa County Sheriff.
Good evening, everyone. This is Matt Lewis, your Mesa County Sheriff. I just want to talk a little bit about some things specific to Mesa County that are going on, reference the fire. But before I do so, I want to take just a moment and I want to really thank the hundreds upon hundreds of firefighters and support personnel that have been working tirelessly to protect the communities in Mesa County, in Garfield County, and working now with Rio Blanco County as this fire has grown. They have literally thrown every resource and everything they can at this fire and made tremendous steps to try and control this, although it's still active now. But I shudder to think without their expertise and without all the resources that they've been able to bring in, what this might look like. So thank you to them and the ongoing work that they're doing out there in some of the worst terrain and worst conditions that we've seen. So specific to Mesa County, I want to talk about evacuations. Currently in Mesa County, there are no evacuation orders in place. We don't have any of those, and we will certainly get that information out and communicate that if it changes. However, they just touched on closures. There are roads and areas that are closed, specifically going north into the desert areas, the BLM 18 road campground, and then roads coming out of the DeBeck area that lead up into where the fire is and has been active. And so I just want to encourage all of our citizens. Those closures are there for a reason. Those closures are there for safety. There to protect firefighter access, equipment access in and out of those areas, and to ensure that people are accounted for as our firefighters go in there and work in those areas. So please respect those closures. Some of those are manned, some of those are not, but they are signed, and we need your cooperation in avoiding those areas. It's no secret, we are getting a tremendous amount of ash and smoke in the valley. and that is not going to change for a while. But I want to assure all of our Valley residents, Grand Junction, Fruita, Mac, DeBeck, that although you are seeing a tremendous amount of smoke, you are seeing a tremendous amount of ash. That's because of the fire activity. We know that that's going to be around for a little bit while we get our arms wrapped around this thing. Although it does pose some health issues for people with respiratory issues, it is not presenting an active danger to the valley floor, the town of DeBeck, all of our communities as it sits now. And certainly if that changes, we will communicate that out. There's just a tremendous amount of information that's flowing around this fire from our incident management team, from all of the different communities through Rio Blanco, Garfield, and Mesa County that are involved in this. And so to try and consolidate some of that information, one of the things that we've done at the Sheriff's Office is we've added some additional resources to our webpage. And so I really want to encourage people, before you head out, if you have questions about this fire, I want you to go to our website, and I want you to click on the link there. Our website is sheriff.mesacounty.us. What we've done is we've taken all the information from our incident management team and we've rebroadcast it there. We've got information that it will be helpful there on cleaning up ash, on fire preparedness, on wildfire itself. And then many of the maps as they're released from our incident management team are posted there as well. And so please utilize that as a local resource if you have questions or if you need to see some of the information that's presented during these briefings at another time. We are working tirelessly to keep that updated as new information is released. And we want to be that go-to resource for our citizens in our community. I also want to assure you that any areas that we believe might be impacted by this fire, we have deputies that are out and personally making contact with property owners and with residents in those areas. And so please know that those resources will be in contact with anyone who may be impacted from this fire as we work with this incident management team to understand the fire behavior and the projections that they have to the best of our ability. So our office can be a resource to you. We'll continue to communicate. And again, I'd like to thank all of our fire professionals for the work they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. And next, will we welcome Rio Blanco County Under Sheriff Jeremy Muxlow.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak about this today. I'll let you know kind of where Rio Blanco County is at. Currently, right now, Highway 139 in Rio Blanco County is shut down from mile marker 6 to 39. That's just outside of our county jurisdiction. We've got that shut down for a whole host of reasons, largely to keep firefighters and that traffic free and clear in the area. We don't do this to inconvenience anybody, but there is a safety issue with this fire, and we want to make sure that our county is well taken care of, as well as our residents and any visitors in the area. There will be some congestion on that road at certain times, so I'd encourage anybody to stay off of that insofar as they're able. Rio Blanco County does have some trigger points set up in the county in the event the fire was to come to us. One of those is Garfield County Road 256 or the 4A Ridge Road. We do have some resources that have been out in the field speaking to our southern county landowners about what precautions we do have in place and what precautions they should be taking. We are monitoring the situation closely and will advise our citizens if the situation changes. In Rio Blanco County, there are currently no evacuation orders in place. The residents that are in the area of that fire or what could become that fire in our county, we've been in close contact with again. And if the time does come, we will notify them. We do have area closures in our county on the south end right now in preparation for this fire, depending on what it does. And I do also, like Sheriff Lewis already said, I want to extend my greatest thanks to all the first responders that have helped work this fire and everything that they've done for us. And that's about all I have at this point.
Thank you, sheriffs. We appreciate it. Now, we did receive a couple of questions, so we'll go ahead and move into our question and answer portion, and we'll get those read off.
Okay, first question. When fighting fires like this, is it easier to fight the fire at daytime or nighttime? Also with burnout operations, are those burnout operations easier at night?
Pat, would you like to answer those?
So yeah, I think I can answer those questions. Is firefighting easier day and night? Great question. What it really depends on is the weather in the fields. So typically at nighttime, it is better to fight fire at nighttime. Typically in conjunction with the weather, typically you have cooler temperatures, higher relative humidities, and what that does to the fuel makes the fire behavior less flammable. So typically you wouldn't get the extreme fire behavior at nighttime as you would in the daytime due to the very much weather dependent. So the hotter temps, typically the gustier winds. But with this fire, we've had active fire behavior both day and night. We have completed some successful burnout operations, and those have occurred along the 204 road, and those have been at nighttime. There's been some burnout operations in the daytime, but typically that was held or shifted to the nighttime operations due to those weather parameters that we typically use at nighttime. That is easier and less fire intensity at nighttime, where we can be a little more successful.
Thanks. Next question. Is the fire coming up over the Book Cliffs into the North Fruita area?
So the question is the fire coming over the Book Cliffs down into Fruita? Right now, the fire is moving to the south, the west, and slowly to the north. And what's happened in the last couple of days is, once again, this is very much related to weather and really the winds and the wind direction. So the challenge has been the last couple of days where we've had active fire behavior at night as well as the daytime has really been attributed to the thunderstorm development to the north and to the northwest that's pushing this fire to the south with gusty, erratic winds. We have had northwest winds pretty consistently for the last 5 days. However, they've been light. They've been very light, 5, 7, 10 miles an hour. However, when we get these gusty outflow winds from these storms, they can range up to 40 miles per hour, like we experienced a couple nights ago. And a couple nights ago, that's when we got the significant fire growth on the west side of the fire and some additional growth on the south end of the fire. So that was all attributed to those outflow winds that are pretty hard to predict. They happen pretty quick. And like I said, gusts can go up to 40 miles an hour that create problem fire behavior for firefighters, where we have to really back off of that fire's edge for safety reasons and find out where, naturally we can actually be successful.
Perfect. Ops indicated the fire is starting to push to the northwest. Where do we sit with it possibly coming up over the top of Douglas Pass?
So the question is, with the fire potentially moving to the northwest, what is the potential for the fire to reach or even extend beyond Douglas Pass? There is some probability models we've been looking at up here in the northwest corner. There is a slight chance of that. There is potential for this fire to continue to the northwest as well as west into the south right here, depending on, once again, it's weather dependent and the wind direction. But there is continuous rugged country, steep and rugged terrain, all the way up to the 256 road. And what that's going to do is continue to drive the fire. There's not a lot of opportunities where we think we could be over 50% roughly successful in some of this country to the northwest. We have a few options that we are definitely looking at hard to slow that fire's progression. But there is definitely potential for the fire to reach Douglas Pass. If the fire does reach Douglas Pass, we do have some better options north of 256 that we've pre-identified as natural barriers and previous fire scars that will provide us a little better opportunity to be successful up here north of 256.
Great. Last question. Sounds like, is it going to take rain to eventually put out this fire? What are your thoughts with that?
So the question is rain going to be what it takes to put out this fire? And I guess the short answer would be yes. Rain is a key factor. As we all know, we need moisture in this country. There's a lot of variabilities when we get rain. Obviously, that provides us a lot of opportunity to reassess and potentially re-engage the fire when and if that occurs. So rain is a huge thing. We all know moisture greatly helps us. That moisture really slows down these fuels. It dampens the fuels that's been carrying this fire that is in extremely dry, record-breaking temps. And really that's what's driving the extreme fire behavior.
That's it. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. We want to thank all of our public and all of our officials and staff who were able to be with us here this evening. For further information, you can visit us on Facebook. You can also visit your county officials' Facebooks as well. We do still staff our information center with our phone line for questions, and we look forward to working with you. Visit us at an information board within your community. Have a good night.